How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Mr. Moore Heating and Cooling True Stories. All right, got another good one for y'all. All right, so customers calling all the time. With used units. I don't install used units. This guy right here, I've been working on his unit for the past 2 years. I replaced a condensing fan motor. I done gave it a charge. I done sealed up leaks. Real old units is having a lot of problems. And I'm like, at some point you're going to have to replace this thing. And I replaced his evaporator coil too. That's when, I first met the customer. He needed an evaporator coil. He had another company come out. I replaced the evaporator coil for him. It was working. Then, maybe a year down the line, he needed a charge and he had some leaks. Got all that fixed. And I guess he was getting tired of the unit breaking down every year. It was a real old unit, maybe about 15 years old, so it's going to have problems. So, he calls. He was like, man, I'm thinking about buying a used unit. Would you be able to put it in? I'm like, yes and no. I was like, I don't put in used units. I said, if I do put in a used unit that you done bought, I cannot give you no warranty. I said, you was on your own with this. And I let him know all the ins and outs about this and what can happen and what can't happen, what shouldn't happen. So he went and bought, against my best advice, he went and bought the machine anyway. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So he calls me up. I got this machine. I'm like, is it an R22 unit? Because you have R22 in there. I said, you have a 2.5 ton R22 unit in there. Did you get that? He was like, nah, I just got what he got me. You know what I'm saying? What he gave me. I'm like, okay, how much you pay for it? He was like, oh, I paid about $500 for it. I'm like, oh, God. I'm like, okay, you already got ripped off because, I bought a used unit for about $500 and you want me to put it in. So you're going to spend some more money getting it put in. So by the time I put it in and you paying for this unit, it just doesn't add up. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm not comfortable with really doing this. I mean, you're kind of like a friend or whatnot. I've been working on your system for a little while, so about a year and a half now, with the evaporator coil, your condensing fan, and all the other stuff I've done to it. And I guess he just got tired of the unit, wanted something new. He met some guy. The guy kept on talking about AC units that he had, which was probably stolen. And he went for it, bought it. First of all, it was the wrong size. Second of all, it was a 410A unit. I had to change that whole system out in order for it to work. The AC had to be replaced and the evaporator coil. It has to be a 410A system. You just can't get a 410A system and still have that old evaporator coil in there. So I tried to convince him of that. It was going to be a bad idea and I wouldn't feel comfortable of installing it or whatnot. He was like, oh man, it should work. The guy that sold it to me said it's going to work. I'm like, man, Jesus Christ. He was like, I'll just go ahead and pay you, man. It'll work. I'm like, okay, man. I'm not responsible for this thing if it doesn't work. So I get over there and everything, and I unhook the other one, get the refrigerator out, capture it, and remove everything, put the new unit in. And the whole time I'm doing it, I'm like, man, this thing ain't going to work. I said, you sure you want me to hook this up? I said, I'm not responsible for it if it doesn't work. I hooked it up anyway. It could be begging and begging. I'm like, okay. I hooked it up. It didn't work. It's not funny because he's out of money and he's mad. I'm like, you can't get mad at me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, it's not going to work. I told you if you're going to get any unit used, make sure it's the same unit that you have. If you have a 2.5 ton R22 unit, go get a R22 2.5 ton unit. You don't get no 410A 3 ton unit. First of all, it's just not going to work. 410A R22, come on, do the math. It's just not going to work. And I tried to convince this guy that, and he did not listen. So after I hooked everything up, I left and everything. I get a call. He's like, hey, man, it's not working. I said, yeah, man, I told you not to buy that machine, and it probably wasn't going to work. Is there anything you can do for me, Mr. Moore? I was like, not at this present time. I said, first of all, I'm busy. I'm running behind on calls. I got calls coming in from everywhere. I'm trying to take care of everything. I told you not to buy that machine. I don't even know who you bought it from. I was like, you need to probably take that thing back to him. Get what you're supposed to have in there, R22. If you're going to do a 410A unit, you're going to have to replace the evaporator coil too, and maybe the line sets. That's what I told him initially. He didn't listen. I guess some people think, when they talk to other contractors or people that selling them AC units used, they kind of tend to get swindled a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Marcus don't know what he's talking about. Mr. Moore don't know what he's talking about. This should work because the guy said it's going to work. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. And the chances on it going to work is very slim to none. So, he was blowing up my phone for quite some time trying to get me to come back out there. He was like, well, at least can you come back out there and, take a look at it, maybe unhook it. I was like, if I unhook it, I gotta charge you because I gotta recapture the refrigerant in another cylinder that's 410A. Capture it, reclaim it, do all this stuff, unhook it. I said, that's going to cost you a couple $100. This stuff ain't free when you're bringing out the torch tanks. You're recovering refrigerant, you're moving heavy equipment. And he was like, well, sure, I just paid you this just to put the hook up the other one. You can't throw me no deal. I said, I can't throw you no deal. You shouldn't have never bought the machine in the first place. So he's mad, but this is how it goes in the, HVAC business. Customers, they say customers are always right. That's wrong. Customers be wrong on this AC stuff a lot of the times. And, my advice to the homeowners out there, don't buy any used units. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it. Just get a new system, then you won't have any problems. New works better than old, And then, we know how to match up everything. We know what you're supposed to have in there according to the square footage of your house. And that's just a hard lesson for those that's out there that's listening. Don't buy used units. Don't be trying to have people to hook them up for you. Then when they don't work, you get mad. It's not the company's fault if they even do it. This will be my last one. I'm not hooking up anything used anymore ever for any more customers because it ain't nothing but a headache. Every time I hooked up something used, it never worked. All right, now, that's Mr. Moore Heating and Cooling True Stories. Y'all enjoy your day.